Hey, so the question is, how do you decide whether a medical malpractice case has merit? It all begins with one simple thing, a catastrophic injury or death. Without that, you won't go near a medical malpractice case. So if a client comes into your office and they start telling you about their story of woe, the first thing that you need to ask them is, how are you doing now? That is a critical question. You can stop them in the middle of their conversation, find out how they're doing, and if they say, I'm doing fine now, that's the end of the discussion. That is not a medical malpractice case that's going anywhere. So if they have recovered from their horrible incident, they had a horrible injury, but now they're fine, that's the end of the discussion. There are 5 things to look for in a medical malpractice case. And this is the first thing that you need to think of. Death, paralysis, blindness, loss of limb, or brain damage. 5 things. If they don't qualify as having death, brain damage, paralysis, loss of limb, or I forgot one, then they don't qualify. That is not a case you can pursue, because I would explain to the client these cases on average cost between $25,000 and on the high end $200,000 to $250,000. They are really expensive. And if there is not a catastrophic injury, it's just not worth going anywhere near it. So second question, let's assume that you've got the catastrophic injury or death. What is the next thing? And other lawyers might say to me, how do you know if it's a case? I really have no idea. The bottom line is, you want something that is so simple that anyone could understand it. So for example, when the client comes to you and said, my wife died, she went to the emergency room complaining of severe chest pain, she was gasping for breath, they told her nothing to worry about, sent her home, and 5 days later she died of a heart attack. And that never should have happened. And you're right, that never should have happened. That person should have been worked up and evaluated for a sudden cardiac condition and treated. And that wasn't done. But my point here is, you want things to be so simple and basic that a layperson, a juror, could understand the facts of the case. Because if it's really complicated and you don't understand what the claim is, then it's highly unlikely that a jury is going to understand what the case is about. So you want a fact pattern that strikes you as just common sense, that malpractice was committed. So those are basically the 2 things that you look for: a catastrophic injury or death, number 1. Number 2, a really simple, basic fact pattern where you, even if you don't practice medical malpractice, just know in your gut that it never should have happened. It's just common sense. So those are the 2 most common things to do. The third thing that you could do in this, if you're not sure, let's say that there's a catastrophic injury and you hear the fact pattern, but you have no idea if there was any malpractice. What I do when I have that is I have a surgeon who I consult with on a daily basis. And I'll just pick up the phone and say, hey, what do you think of this fact pattern? This happened. They said, that's not a case, and here's why. So it's just a way of screening it, because there are some situations that I can't make sense of, and I want to get the expert's opinion. So my third piece of advice is that you would have a relationship with a doctor who can evaluate it. And it doesn't have to be, it could be anyone. If you have a friend who's a doctor, it could be some expert. But the idea is just somebody that you can pass along information to without charging you $1,000 every time you call them. So those are basically the ways that we evaluate a medical malpractice action. And if you ever have a case that you just want to run by me, totally free. If you just want to discuss it, if you want to keep the case for yourself, but you'd like to discuss it with me, I'm happy to. No obligation to refer a case. And I'd be happy to. So you can call me at 518-265-9131. Run the facts by me. I'll be happy to discuss it, and you can keep the case, no problem. So if you like this video, please leave a comment. I will respond to the comment below. I really appreciate that. And also, if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel or share it with your friends, it'd mean a lot to me. Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.